Have you ever wondered how many miracles stayed hidden, simply because you never gave yourself the time to plan? Like dreams born with strength, but silenced before they could even breathe. What if I told you there's something almost invisible, almost ridiculous in its simplicity, that can double your results, multiply your clarity, and transform your path? No, we're not talking about more work, more hustle, or more sleepless nights. We're talking about 10 minutes. 10 minutes that, if ignored, will keep stealing from you what could have been yours. But if used wisely, they can open doors you didn't even know existed. Pause and reflect. How many times have you woken up on autopilot, dragged by urgencies you didn't choose, drowning in tasks that got you nowhere? And what if, just for a moment, you dared to stop, just for 10 minutes, before letting the world consume you? What if in those minutes you could shape your day instead of being shaped by it? There's a secret the great ones know, a silent code visionaries keep in their pocket. They never begin without a map, because even the most beautiful path is lost when you don't know where you're stepping. Maybe you think you know what you'll do tomorrow, but knowing is not planning, imagining is not deciding, and wishing is not executing. While the world rushes, screams, and demands, the planner gets quiet and creates. They turn confusion into focus, fear into strategy, chaos into direction, and all of it starts in 10 minutes. 10 minutes where the invisible becomes visible, where anxiety gives way to confidence, where the mind stops running and starts building. It may seem small, but 10 minutes are enough to reorganize an entire life, if you know what to look for. Have you noticed that your biggest mistakes of the week were born in the first minutes of the day? That rushed decisions led to consequences that lasted days, or even years. That unthought messages destroyed opportunities, that impulsive commitments drained your energy. What if all of that could have been avoided with a pause, with a piece of paper and a pen, with a single question? What truly matters today? That question asked daily can double your results. Not because it gives you more time, but because it removes what doesn't deserve your time. Life is not a race to see who does the most. It's a silent race to see who does what really matters. And the one who wins never starts running. They begin in silence. Planning. Choosing where to place their soul, their sweat, their faith. 10 minutes aren't about productivity. They're about sovereignty. They are the rebellious act of taking back control of your time, your focus, your life. Because those who plan with intention wake up with a pact between their conscience and their future. And that pact, though silent, holds more power than any promise screamed into the wind. 10 minutes. That's all it takes to reclaim your trajectory. Not an hour, not a whole day off, just 10 intentional, unbreakable minutes. It sounds almost absurd, doesn't it? But inside those 10 minutes lies a force that most ignore, and because they ignore it, they lose to the noise. But those who embrace it, they begin to create days that build dreams instead of just surviving through them. In those 10 minutes, the mind finds space to breathe, to question, to choose. You're no longer reacting to life, you're constructing it. Like an architect sketches a cathedral, you sketch a day, and those sketches, when done daily, stack into the masterpiece that is your future. Picture it, 10 minutes in the morning. Your coffee still warm, your phone still silent. The world hasn't grabbed you yet. You sit down with one sheet of paper, and there it is. Your battlefield, your sanctuary. You ask the real questions. What is the one thing that would make today meaningful? What can I let go of? What can't wait any longer? You define with sharpness your top priority, not 5, not 10, 1. Because deep down, you know, when everything matters, nothing truly does. You write that one priority like it's a promise to yourself, and then you build the rest of your plan around that. Those 10 minutes give you more than just structure. They give you a weapon against the unexpected. Because let's be honest, the day rarely goes as planned. But when you've taken time to define your direction, you don't crumble at the first interruption. You adjust. You adapt. You respond instead of react. Planning gives you agility. It gives you power. It turns you into a calm presence in a stormy world. And here's the twist. It doesn't make life predictable. It makes you unshakable within the unpredictable. And that's what the winners of the world have learned to master. Now think about how most people start their days. Snooze button, social media, rushing out the door, responding to emails they didn't choose, to tasks they didn't schedule. They begin with chaos and hope to find clarity later. But clarity isn't found, it's made. And the only moment to make it is before the noise begins. You've been given this gift, 10 minutes each morning, untouched by the rest of the world. What you do with them determines the power of every minute that follows. Use them poorly and you'll spend the day cleaning up messes. Use them wisely and you'll find that everything flows. The difference between a day that drains you and a day that builds you is what you do before it begins. You can spend your life putting out fires, or you can become the one who never lets them start. And it all begins in silence, with a question, with a pen. You're not just planning tasks. You're aligning with your purpose. You're putting your energy where it matters. You're saying to the world, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And suddenly, every distraction loses its grip, because you've already claimed what matters most. And when you claim that daily, your results don't just add up, they multiply. 10 minutes of planning is not about control. It's about creation. It's not about stuffing your calendar with tasks. It's about crafting a life that echoes your purpose. Each session becomes a silent conversation between your future self and your present self, where the question is not, what do I have to do? But what would make today legendary? When you ask that, when you choose to meet the day with intention instead of reaction, you unlock energy you didn't know you had. You stop dragging your feet through your obligations and instead, you walk with precision, with purpose, with clarity. You shift from chaos to creation, from distraction to direction. Let's take this further. In those 10 minutes, you do more than list tasks. You set energy. You align your emotions, your time, your mindset. You design momentum. Most people chase motivation, but planning generates it. Motivation follows clarity. When you know what matters and why it matters, your brain lights up. You start to feel pulled forward by your goals instead of pushed around by your calendar. That's the magic of intention. It makes even ordinary actions meaningful. 10 minutes of clarity can fuel 10 hours of productivity. 10 minutes of reflection can prevent 10 days of regret. You don't need more time. You need better use of the time you already have. In a world that's louder and faster than ever, the person who pauses becomes powerful. While everyone else reacts, you prepare. While they drown in distraction, you set direction. And it doesn't take hours, it takes 10 minutes of undivided attention. That's your edge, that's your superpower. A page, a pen, a plan. It seems small, but the compound effect is staggering. Over a year, that's over 60 hours of pure strategy. Over 5 years, it's over 12 full days of life design. Most people waste those minutes without even knowing. But the ones who claim them, they become architects of their destiny. So why don't more people do this? Because it's not urgent. No alarm rings to remind you. No one applauds you for sitting alone with your thoughts. It's quiet work. Invisible work. But it's also foundational. Skipping it is like building a skyscraper without checking the blueprints. Sure, you might move fast, but at some point it collapses. Planning is what protects you from collapse. It's the invisible thread that keeps your days aligned with your dreams. And when it becomes a habit and when it becomes sacred, you stop living on accident. You start building a legacy, one conscious day at a time. And here's where it gets profound. The ripple effect. 10 minutes of planning doesn't just double your results, it multiplies your confidence, your peace of mind, and your capacity to lead yourself. It reshapes the way you move through the world. You're no longer guessing your next step. You're grounded. You're no longer waking up hoping the day goes well. You're designing it to go well. That clarity affects how you speak, how you decide, and how you treat others. It affects your posture, your pace, even your presence. people start to feel the shift in you, even if they don't know what changed. That's because planning is not a mechanical act. It's a transformational one. It centers you. It restores your authority over your own life. And in a world where so many are pulled in 1,000 directions, that kind of alignment is rare and powerful. Let's go deeper. When you spend 10 minutes planning, you begin to tell your brain a new story. No longer is your day dictated by urgency or emotion. You become proactive instead of reactive. You begin to act like a leader, not just in business or work, but in your own story. And when that happens consistently, your identity changes. You no longer see yourself as someone who's overwhelmed, always behind, always juggling. You see yourself as someone who is strategic, composed ahead. This identity shift is what creates lasting transformation. Goals are great, but identity drives behavior, and behavior drives results. That's the hidden power of a simple planning ritual. It rewires who you believe you are. And the beauty of this practice, it's accessible to anyone. You don't need an app. You don't need a fancy system. You need stillness, honesty, and a question. What would make today a win? That one prompt, when reflected on for 10 focused minutes, can realign your trajectory. You begin to eliminate the noise. You notice what really matters. You plan not just for productivity, but for purpose. And over time, that changes everything, because purpose scales. It flows into your relationships, your health, your business, your vision. You become more consistent, less drained, more joyful, less frantic. You begin to fall in love with showing up on purpose, not for perfection, but for progress. Every single day. The greatest irony is this: most people are too busy to take 10 minutes to plan, yet they waste hours in confusion and reactivity. It's like refusing to sharpen the axe before chopping the tree. You end up working twice as hard for half the result. But the moment you realize that 10 minutes of planning is not a cost, it's an investment, you unlock a new level of life, and that life is marked by clarity, calm, and compounding returns. Every day you plan is a day you steer your own ship instead of drifting. It's a day where your actions echo your values, where your choices match your vision, where your energy is not spent, it's directed. So as you step into tomorrow, ask yourself, can you give yourself 10 minutes? Can you carve out that sacred space to sit, breathe, and map your moves? Not to control life, but to collaborate with it. Not to predict the future, but to shape it. That's the essence of intentional living. It's not about having all the answers. It's about choosing not to be passive. Your greatest breakthroughs won't come from chance, they'll come from choices. And 10 minutes of planning? That's one of the most powerful choices you can make. It's the decision that makes all the other decisions easier. Let's take this concept even further. 10 minutes of planning isn't just a habit, it's a commitment to yourself, a contract with your future. When you pause to map your time, you're telling yourself, my life is worth designing. That's a radical act of self-respect in a culture addicted to hustle. You step out of the chaos and reclaim authorship over your hours. You start realizing you have more power than you thought, not just to manage tasks, but to architect impact. And the moment you get intentional, time stretches. You start doing more with less. You begin saying no with more confidence. You don't run from distraction. You're immune to it. That's what happens when clarity takes the driver's seat. You gain momentum, and momentum, sustained by structure, becomes mastery. And mastery isn't born from massive overhauls. It's built in small, consistent decisions. Planning for 10 minutes doesn't look like much on the surface, but underneath, you're rewiring how your mind prioritizes, evaluates, and executes. You're retraining your nervous system to feel safe and order. You're rebuilding your trust with yourself, because now you're following through. That discipline cascades into every area. You don't just plan your tasks, you begin to plan your growth, your rest, your recovery, your joy. And the people around you notice it. You become the one who's grounded while others spiral. You become the voice of calm in the noise. Why? Because 10 minutes in the morning rewrote the script for the rest of the day. Think of it this way. Every great structure has a blueprint. Every legendary athlete has a routine. Every masterful creation started with a moment of thought. So why wouldn't your life deserve the same? When you start honoring those 10 minutes, you start treating your life like it matters. You stop reacting to everyone else's urgency and start responding to your own mission. And when you live with that kind of clarity, you become dangerous. Not in a chaotic way, but in a focused one. You become unstoppable. Because now your time works for you, not against you. Now your days stack up, not fall apart. That's the real ROI of planning. It gives you your life back. So don't underestimate this. 10 minutes is not a break from the day. It's the bridge to the life you actually want. When others say they don't have time, you've already created it. When others are overwhelmed, you're aligned. And that edge, that slight difference, repeated every day, becomes the separation between average and extraordinary, between being stuck and being in motion, between drifting and designing. Because the truth is, your life is not built by the hours you work, but by the intention you bring into those hours. And that intention? It's born in the stillness, in the silence, in the planning. And if you're wondering how something as simple as a 10-minute plan could hold this much weight, it's because intention compounds. Imagine starting each day, not with stress but with a strategy. You sit down, clear the mental clutter, and you ask, what really matters today? That one question alone can save you from hours of wasted motion. You're no longer mistaking movement for progress. You're choosing direction over distraction. Suddenly, tasks are no longer competing for your attention. They're ordered, aligned, meaningful. That's the difference between drowning in your to-do list and dominating it. Because when you decide your day in advance, you regain the one thing most people are starving for, control. And that control gives birth to consistency. You start showing up differently, more prepared, more decisive. Your time-blocked calendar becomes your shield. Your checklist becomes your compass. And your execution? Laser sharp. You move with clarity while others guess. You finish what others delay. And people start asking, how do you get so much done? But what they don't see is the magic that happens in those quiet 10 minutes. They don't see the questions you ask yourself. They don't hear the mental filtering, the ruthless prioritization, the small voice that whispers, this is the work that matters. They only see the results, the outcomes of a mind that refuses to wander without purpose. Because that's what 10 minutes of planning really does. It protects your energy. It preserves your focus. It helps you make micro decisions now, so you don't waste macro energy later. You eliminate decision fatigue before it even begins. You pre-decide how you'll show up. And when interruptions come, because they always do, you're not shaken. You adapt without abandoning the mission. That's resilience. That's power. That's what makes the difference between someone who reacts and someone who leads. Between someone who's busy and someone who's effective. All born from a practice so simple it's almost too easy to skip, but too powerful to ignore. Now imagine what happens when this becomes your ritual. Not once a week, not occasionally, but daily. 10 minutes, every single morning, before the world even has a chance to pull you in 100 directions. That repetition creates rhythm. It's the difference between a scattered life and a synchronized one. You're not just planning anymore. You're building a personal operating system. You begin to see the hidden patterns in your productivity. You notice when you perform best, when your energy peaks, what tasks drain you. And with that awareness, you adjust, you optimize, you evolve. Suddenly, you're no longer living reactively. You're engineering your outcomes. And the impact doesn't stop at your to-do list. Those 10 minutes ripple outward into your conversations, your goals, even your long-term vision. You become more intentional in what you say yes to, and more confident in what you say no to. You create space for deep work, real progress, and even rest. You no longer confuse urgency with importance. You learn that not everything deserves your immediate attention. And ironically, the more you slow down to plan, the faster your results compound. Because you're not busy being busy, you're building momentum in the direction that actually matters. You're not living in reaction mode. You're leading your life like a strategist, not a survivor. And here's the truth. Most people won't do this. Most people will wake up, grab their phone, scroll through distractions, and start running through their day without direction. They'll let emails dictate their priorities, they'll let the urgent rob the important, and by the end of the day they'll be exhausted, but not fulfilled, productive, but not purposeful. That's not you. Because you've chosen differently. You've made a 10-minute investment that most ignore, and that's why your results will surpass theirs. You're not chasing time anymore. You're commanding it. You've discovered the secret that elite performers live by. Success isn't just in what you do. It's in what you decide before you do it. Here's the reality. Most people wait for massive change to come from massive action. They wait for the right moment, the perfect conditions, or some external breakthrough to shift their results. But what they fail to see is that the transformation they're waiting for is already within reach. It's in those 10 quiet minutes at the start of the day, 10 minutes that don't look impressive from the outside, 10 minutes that no one claps for, but 10 minutes that can absolutely redefine everything, because it's in those minutes that you stop reacting to life and start designing it. It's in those minutes that your ideas become strategy, your tasks become focused, and your energy becomes aligned with your true priorities. This isn't just productivity, it's personal power, and it's built in silence, in solitude, in the decision to plan before you perform. Think about the compound effect. A single day of planning might not move mountains, but do it for a week, and you start to see clarity. Do it for a month, and you begin executing with intention. Do it for a year, and your life becomes unrecognizable to who you were before. You'll look back and see a trail of progress, of purposeful decisions, of results that didn't come from luck or chance, but from deliberate action. This is the kind of transformation that doesn't come with noise or hype. It comes with quiet consistency, with a pen, a plan, and 10 minutes of your time. And those 10 minutes? They're not just a habit, they're your edge. They're the reason your goals become real. They're the reason your dreams don't stay dreams. So here's your challenge. Tomorrow morning, before the noise begins, before the world pulls at you, stop, breathe, take out a notebook or open your notes. Give yourself 10 minutes. Write down what matters. Decide what deserves your attention. Clarify what success looks like today, not someday. And then commit. Because when you do this, you're not just planning your day, you're doubling your results. You're aligning your actions with your purpose. You're stepping into the version of you that doesn't wait to live intentionally. They plan for it. And that version of you, that's the one who wins, quietly, consistently, completely.